All right, everyone, welcome back to Outpost 138.
Woo!
I, Stefan JD, and here with me, as always, is my co-host, Rob St. John.
That is me. I am excited because we're doing another foreign film.
Yes, 1989 Sweet Home.
Oh
Which,
yeah, also known as the Mamiya House.
this is an older movie, of course, because it's late 80s. It came around the same time as Batman, Tim Burton's
Yeah,
Batman. So, if you need a guideline as to where this, how it looks, how it feels, that's pretty much it.
it came out the same year as the best Batman.
Yes, the best.
Yeah,
Even better than Pattinson's.
yeah.
We should say that there is a couple peculiar things about this movie before we dive into it. The biggest thing is that it became a video game on
Or
the
the video game
Nintendo.
became the movie. It's because it's kind of hard. Because the trailer for this advertises the movie and the game at the same time.
Yes. Movie tie-ins, big thing at the beginning of video games, as we all know. But what's more peculiar about this in the fact that the video game actually does follow the movie pretty much to the T. You do kind of get locked inside the Mamiya mansion. The basic concept is that there's a film crew there. They are trying to shoot these frescoes, in other words, paintings,
Fancy word for paintings.
of this guy who did basically paintings.
Yeah.
But something happened. They believe it's haunted. Nobody knows what exactly happened. So they're there to document it, and they think they might get rich off of it. There's different various characters, and even in the video game, they have different powers or strengths and weaknesses, I should say.
Yeah, when it because of how they're intertwined, it's going to be impossible to not talk about the movie without talking about the game.
Right.
But you're definitely going to have to be the man when we talk about the game because, like I said, the only thing that I've done in that game is die. That game is hard as shit.
So here's the thing, and I did mention this a little bit on our last episode when I revealed we were covering Sweet Home. The game is actually easy as hell, but there's a way to do it, much like any old school game on the NES. You have to kind of figure out the kinks of it in order to beat it. Basically, if anybody wants to go play Sweet Home, the video game, I have beat it. I highly recommend it. I think it's a great horror game for the NES. I'd even go as far to give it almost a 9 out of 10. It's almost a perfect game. But my advice is that you start off at the beginning of the game in the front of the mansion, and you can go to the main hall of the mansion. And in that main hall, you'll fight bats and stuff. It's RPG-ish battling.
All right.
And you just stay there and level up to your level 16. And literally nothing else in the game will be able to kill you except for the death traps that are in there. So you might want to, save every so often.
See, that's what would get me was the death traps. And I'd get frustrated and be like, screw this.
Yeah, because once your character dies, you cannot resurrect them. They're dead. So it's very crushing in that way. But if you save a lot, which the game does allow you to do, then you'll be fine. So my suggestion is to do that. Level up to level 16 in the main hall, which it won't take that long because you level up fast as shit in that game. And then go explore the mansion. And
die.
Yeah. And it's not a long game. It'll probably take you, without knowing where to go, maybe even if you followed a guide, probably 3 to 4 hours, I want to say.
And it is the granddaddy of survival horror.
Right. So that's the other thing that we have to mention about Sweet Home, the video game, is that, and I actually have the interview from GameFan from 1996 of Mikami, the guy who directed Resident Evil, the first video game. He was kind of directed. He said, the company asked me to make a horror game, something scary that people would enjoy playing. We made a horror game for the 8-bit Famicom, i.e. Nintendo, called Sweet Home, which was licensed from a movie. The company wanted to create something with a similar flavor. That was the only instruction that we got from the company, so we were able to create this game more freely than usual. And when I sat down to play this game, I was all by myself. Spent about 6 months planning and structuring the game, and then he began to hire people. And they asked him, so is Resident Evil a sequel to the Sweet Home? And he said, no, it's not a sequel. It does feel a little bit like Sweet Home. People who played Sweet Home will no doubt say, oh, this is just like Sweet Home. But we didn't want to make an exact copy or a sequel. We wanted to create something more sharp. So that's what he said in 1996.
So
And
there's no denying it at all.
yeah, because the company was Capcom, and that's who we worked for, and that's who made Sweet Home.
Yeah, and the director of the game, Tokuro Fujiwara, who did Ghost and Goblins, the arcade version of Ghost and Goblins, again for Capcom, and that had made just a ton of money, and they were like, here, try this new weird thing and make this game.
Mm-hmm.
And they came up, and he was allowed, him and like his two assistants were allowed to walk around the set and meet cast members and talk to the writer of the movie and everything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, Rob, like, when you see this movie in particular, like, just the way it's shot and the cinematography and everything, does it remind you of any other movies of the time?
Of that time?
Yeah.
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, that would actually be that and Evil Dead, actually.
Evil Dead.
Yeah.
I could see that, especially the special effects.
Yeah, especially that.
I want to say it also reminds me of Return of the Living Dead Part 3, just the way it's shot and like the way the shadows play off the walls and everything.
Yeah, the shadows are a big part of this, both storyline wise and cinematography wise.
Right. And they do a little bit of film trickery, kind of like Nosferatu, where the shadow goes across the wall type deal.
Yeah. Almost artsy, but not quite.
Yeah, almost. Definitely almost. The special effects certainly stand up there
Yes.
with being artsy, even if they are a little violent.
Just a little. But I mean, when we get to it, the whole story is violent when you learn the whole thing.
As we've stated, the video game, you're going to go play it. Now you know what to do. Keep your party close together because you can separate. And just like in the movie, they try to stay together too as the film crew. And they do something in the game that they do in the movie, which is when they're in trouble, you can call out to the other people or players and to come help you. And basically what they're going to be helping you with is the paranormal events that happen in this movie because it is a ghost movie.
Yes, it is very much a haunted house movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think Poltergeist.
Yeah. The mansion also as well does remind me of the Spencer Mansion in Resident Evil, funny enough.
Yeah. I mean, just the... Because you read the interview that he did in '96, but I mean, even without that, the DNA of Sweet Home is so deep into the original Resident Evil. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, if you know both games, they're still so different. And they're both great. Okay, I'm not good at Sweet Home, but I can still recognize it's a good game. They're great, but they're different, but they're the same, and what it'd be 7-8 years difference between the two games.
Yeah, 7 years, I think.
Yeah, and think of the technological differences between the two games.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Also, in that interview, he does reveal that one of the first horror movies he saw as a child was Dawn of the Dead. So that's actually why the change happened from haunted house to haunted zombie mansion.
Yeah, and everything's better for it.
Yes.
Yes.
But one of the things that, like the DNA you said, is like the death traps, which actually kind of do figure into the movie a little bit. Because when they get to the mansion, they don't really know what's going on. Again, they're just paid to go there and shoot this thing thinking it's a lucrative opportunity. And one of the things they do is they start to set up shop. You know, they got sleeping bags. One of them's the star. One of them's the cameraman. You know, one of them's like the financier, the producer, and his kid. And then there's the hot chick.
You have Kozio is the producer. He's like the older guy.
Mm-hmm.
Emmy is his daughter. She's like a teenager, and it's a summer vacation, so she's with him. You have another, like, I guess she's kind of like the producer's assistant, Akiko.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's kind of what it is. You have the sleazy cameraman, Taguchi, and the star, I guess, or interviewer or whatever, reporter is Asuka. And that, for a long time, is it when you talk characters.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. In fact,
those 5 people.
Yeah, that's the whole cast. The beginning of the movie when they're like sending him out, Kazuo or whatever his name is, to the mansion. It's a little weird because it doesn't feel like the same movie. Like they're just having a really dark conversation in a dark room. It's very shady, very noir.
It is, right?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it jumps to this like really happy.
The happy music that doesn't. I actually wrote that down. Happy music as they drive up. I'm like, what the hell is this? This like Disney ass music.
Exactly, it was. It was like Disney, like early '90s.
Yeah. Because it sticks out like a sore thumb.
It really does. It's bizarre, and I will say that's one detriment to the movie is its score. But the haunting music is good.
Yes.
Not that.
That was so weird.
But like setting up shop in the mansion, obviously there's no light in there. So they have to do things like that. They have to set up lights. They got like little lanterns. They're really preparing to stay there for a while and look for all of this guy's art, Ichiro Mamiya, to restore it, you know, and shoot the documentary. And then for whatever reason, when they're exploring, they also decide to go around the house, and outside of the house is a grave, and they're not really sure why.
They asked the cameraman to go turn on. They think there's a generator in the shed out back, and they're like, "Well, we can use a generator, right?" But the shed is locked, so he grabs the stone off of the tomb, off of the burial site, and uses it to bash the lock open. Why would you take a stone off of a tomb or whatever, a grave?
I mean, he is kind of a dumbass in the movie.
He is a dumbass. It's awful.
It is.
And that kind of sets it all in motion.
You know, who would have known that moving rocks that are part of a burial site where a toddler is born, no less, or buried, that was going to be what sets off this haunting.
Or as I put it, sets off poltergeist bullshit, as I put it in my notes.
Poltergeist bullshit?
Yeah, that's what I put. And also, when they find one of the Mamiya's big frescoes or whatever, but it's like it's covered in like soot and dust and just nastiness. And Asuka's gonna clean it, and I put, as she's cleaning it, because she's using this very like fancy, weird looking vacuum thing, I guess, so it doesn't damage the painting.
Right.
She's dressed like Hunk from Resident Evil.
Like who?
Hunk.
Is she really?
Yeah, well, she has a gas mask, and I was like, oh, Resident Evil, see?
I didn't even notice it.
I was stretching for that one, but I just wanted to mention Hunk, because he's my favorite character.
Everyone's favorite character that they know nothing about.
Whatever, he's Mr. Death, and he's cool. And he is cool, but so with all the, he's disturbed the toddler's burial site, being an idiot. It's not like he did it by accident. Then again, it is poltergeist stuff, but even then, it kind of like, it's simple stuff, like the house starts crumbling a little bit, and it's like, well, maybe that's just because the house is old and dilapidated. Maybe it's not poltergeist, but it is. It totally is. Because
even in poltergeist, like the spirits, well, it's one main spirit dragging other spirits around it as usual. Like this even happens in Insidious and other ghost movies, but it like plays with them at first. Like it does the chair moving stuff, and that it's kind of like the same thing in that way.
Yeah, and as she begins getting further along with the cleaning of that painting, you see that they're starting to see what the painting is, and it starts out pretty happy, and then it's what they think is long black hair, and what they think is one eyeball in that black hair, and at the top of it it says "Home Sweet Home" in perfect English.
In perfect English.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably like somebody in Mexico right now who's listening to this episode and they're trying to learn English and they're like, why do they keep saying fresco drink?
Shut up,
It's like,
man.
yeah, I just don't understand why they call them frescoes though. Like that's not.
I don't know. You're the artist, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird. I should probably Google it. I will. Yeah, it's bizarre though, like how all of this plays out because it's like they're so happy, and like even the daughter Emmy, she like tries to tell her dad like, hey, you should get with what's her name, Asuka, because
No,
like
get with Akiko, the
or
producer
Akiko,
girl.
yeah,
Yeah. Who has
she's
the
like,
weirdest hair?
yes, and she's like cleaning for him and taking off his socks and everything. She's like, you need to like fix yourself up if you're gonna do this, so you better get to it and start learning. And he's like, man, you're such a bitchy woman. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, dude, that's just Japanese culture that men can talk to women any way they want. Well, back then, it's come forward since then.
I hope so.
Yeah. But then there's one where the whole crew and they're talking, and the dumbass cameraman shows up with this giant axe, this massive halberd axe. He's like, "Hey, look what I found!" And then he almost drops it and kills somebody.
It's awesome.
It's like you're an idiot. And then when I see that and knowing the history of this game, this movie, this game, and what it led to, I'm like, that's probably where the stupid QuickTime events for Ashley's part came from in Resident Evil 4.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I know. I know that even in Sweet Home, the NES game, there are statues that move that have giant ass axes that try to hit you.
I knew it. God damn it.
Yeah, and I'm just like, man, no. Like like there's a couple things you never fuck with, and that's like giant axes you can't hold well.
Yeah. But like I said, he drops it. He's an idiot. And then it's later, I believe, the same night, and it's very obvious that Asuka, the star reporter or whatever, she gets possessed by somebody, and she goes straight outside and digs up the baby.
It's a shallow grave.
Yeah.
The actual like casing that the baby's in though looks like something that H.R. Giger made.
Right?
Yes. It looks like super alien.
Yeah. Biomechanical stuff.
Yeah, like it's not supposed to exist.
Like that really shouldn't be at all. Just shouldn't be.
It's a nightmare coffin.
And she opens it, and the baby prop or whatever you want to call it is off. It is gross, and it is gray, and it's burnt, and it screams and stretches its neck out.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, here we go.
It's really bad.
Yeah, but when things like that, where I'm like, oh shit, that's rough. That's when I'm like, good, because that's what I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, that's what I need is that nastiness.
I think one of the things in horror that's like, we never like really notice it. Like even when we're playing Resident Evil games and we're running through Raccoon City or anything, we're never like asking the question, where are all the kid zombies?
Yeah.
Because
that was that was always the rumor around school. Oh, there's a kid zombie, but you got to find it.
Yeah,
there were no kid zombies.
Which is also why, like, I'll give credit to Anderson, just a tiny minutia of credit for putting kid zombies in that one scene in the second Resident Evil movie, Apocalypse.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did Event Horizon too, and that's a good movie.
It is.
So.
It hasn't aged 100% well, but it's a good. But yeah, no, the idea of using kids in a movie, I think, is always like one of those things where you have to use it properly, or else people will get upset. In the
Yeah.
case of this, I think they do.
Yeah, they do it. They do it right, which is doing it wrong.
Right, right. Just go as far as an extreme as you can.
Yeah, it's or it kind of reminds me again of Planet Terror when a kid just shoots himself,
Oh yeah.
and you just don't expect it. You're like, holy fuck!
Ah man, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I love that movie.
But back to our story here.
Back to our story with dead babies.
Yes, dead babies. The possessing does happen quite a few times in this
Yeah,
movie. She actually doesn't remember digging up the baby because they do find it later.
yeah, and then they're burying this. This always kind of trips me out. They're burying it back where it was,
Hmm.
and this is when she's like you said, she's like, I don't remember, I don't remember. And wouldn't you contact the police?
Yeah.
I mean, you found a child, a baby, dead baby, in somebody's backyard in a shallow grave.
I wonder if because there's probably some custom or something in Japanese culture that's really bad for digging up baby graves, though, right?
I'm pretty sure that's bad in every culture.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Like even if it was an accident or something, you still go to prison, or I don't know.
I don't know, but the guys rebury it. Asuka's acting like she had a mental breakdown because she basically did. She doesn't remember. Amy's trying to take care of her, and Akiko is gonna go get gas for
Mm,
everything. Because obviously they're running generators and stuff like that. So she goes to the local small gas station. We're introduced to the greatest character in this movie.
I called him Scruffy the whole time.
Mr. Yamamura
Yes.
is an older, obviously Japanese man, and he has a cool voice, a cool hat, and a cool beard.
And he's a
And
drunk.
yeah, he's a drunk. And what's great is she gets him, to fill up her gas tanks, and he's smoking a cigarette while he does it.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't happen now at all. You couldn't even joke with that.
He's
Great.
Yeah, he seems like he's supposed to kind of represent the character you'd see in a Friday the 13th movie, like I have warned thee, or
Yeah, Crazy Ralph or something.
Crazy Ralph, like you're all doomed.
Yeah. Yeah, because she mentions, we're at the Mamiya house, we're trying to fix up the paintings or whatever. But then she speeds off before he can warn her or whatever. And he has some sort of holy symbol that he clutches when he hears that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recognize what that symbol is or where it's from or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, if I had to guess, it's Buddhism or Shinto, Japanese Shinto, but that again would just be guesses. Our girl Akiko gets back, and she's none the wiser that she freaked out Yamamura,
Mm-hmm.
and Asuka has another breakdown, and she tries to steal the car, their one Jeep that they had,
Mm-hmm.
and she's gonna flee, and immediately wrecks it immediately. So they're stranded. Is it because this this mansion is in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere?
Right.
So they're stranded now because dumbass, broke the car.
I mean, they should have just taken a lesson from Evil Dead and just had the bridge just be all fucked up for no reason.
It's just ripped up somehow.
Yeah.
It's like, oh Jesus!
They could just scream off the cliff. No.
And what is obviously a matte painting.
Yes.
Some drama here, but it's not bad drama in that they're arguing that, oh, Asuka needs help. Should we walk into town? Should we not? Should we continue with what we're filming with? And it's very human drama, and it kind of, I don't want to call it padding because it does add to the story, but it is a little long.
Right, because we're about, I want to say 45 minutes into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part where it actually starts to unfold a little bit more, I would say, right? In my opinion.
Yeah, this is when it starts getting worse because they all five go back in the mansion, and no, they can't find Asuka, right?
Right, because she disappeared in the mansion. Which, again, if you're gonna go watch this movie, please, for the love of God, if you're a Resident Evil fan, just imagine those same hallways with zombies in them. They're so fucking cool looking. It
It's
is
very
literally
easy to
this.
imagine it.
Yes, it's literally the Spencer Mansion. It
It
really
really
is.
is. But
But
they send in Greasy Camera Guy to try to find her. And what, she's hidden in a hole in the wall? Is that what that was? Or like a vent?
it
Or
it's like a closet, small door closet or something.
yeah,
He's pulling on what looks like a mummy's wrapping or something, and
yeah. Yeah,
the
then she
chief,
comes out and
yeah,
she's what, catatonic again or something?
yeah, she's out of it, and he clearly wants to like get it on with her,
He's like, "Oh, you're so pretty."
and she snaps out of it when she sees what's behind him after he tries to pick her up, and she
Which
starts
is
repeating, "Everybody dies."
which is shadows, correct?
Yes, it's shadows. Oh no.
But not just any shadows, moving shadows of what appears to be a giant hand, human hand, maybe.
It's like a head at first when she first sees it going up the ceiling and over them, and it like the shadow goes over his body too. Like it would
Yeah,
just look. It looks like somebody's standing in front of him with a giant hand as a shadow over a light and just like going up his body, but he starts to catch on fire from it.
yeah. And what ends up happening is she runs from it because he's like freaking out.
Yeah.
But then she goes back, and it shows it. And this is where the special effects are really coming in, and the gore is coming in.
Hmm.
Uh, it's he's been burned in half. It's like he would be bisected like by a sword, but make it a sunbeam or something. It just melts him in half.
It's almost like there's coals inside of him burning or something, like lava,
Yeah, it's
like
like his
sparks.
from the waist down, and his legs are just laying there, and of course it's gore, and then he's a zombie. They,
Essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's crawling on his hands like a crawling zombie, and he's trying to get to Asuka, and
Yeah.
while his guts dangle out.
Yeah, and she's fleeing. There's this whole badass scene, one of my favorite scenes of the movie, where it keeps showing the hand like going down the side of the hallway
And
towards
it's
her.
and it's causing the lights to explode every
Hmm.
time it touches one of the light bulbs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty great.
And she sees she goes to the end of the hall where she's kind of trapped, and she falls over and sees like a dead girl's face staring back at her. And then she
He's
runs
like, oh fuck.
back down the hall
Yeah,
towards dude who got burned.
and that's when he's a zombie.
Taguchi? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he is totally half zombie. And all I could think of was that zombie that you have sliding in the first one. That's in the room where you can change your costume. It's like he's like if you're in the from main hall to Spencer Manson, go to the right, and he's
Oh,
just
you.
there sliding.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But she's trying to get away from him, and he's somehow keeping up because hey, it's a horror movie. And she finds herself a monkey wrench or something and just bashes him.
And it's brutal. Like the way
Yeah,
it shows him in half, and like his guts are out, and there's a hole burned in the floor, and there's blood everywhere, and he crawling after her. It's great.
yeah. The where his legs are laying, like you said, there is a hole. There's a charred floor, and it's a hole, and his guts are still sizzling.
Yes.
And it's like this is awesome.
And he even looks back at one point and just sees his legs back there. Like what's left of him?
It is awesome. But like I said, she reaches over, finds some kind of giant wrench, and bashes his brains in.
Which is a big no-no apparently to the spirits, because when she runs away, she kind
This
of
is dumb.
it's dumb, but I like it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said it's dumb.
She runs into a room, still fleeing, and she falls. She hears a noise. It's the giant axe that Taguchi brought in earlier.
Mhm.
He's fucking around with, and she falls into this chair, slides back, and the axe like turns to look at her and falls directly in the center of her head.
It turns to look at her and then falls. It's not like it just fell.
Right.
It literally takes time to turn and like line up its shot and then falls over.
It's good though.
Oh, it is.
So
It's so good and so dumb.
I would rate all these kills 5.
Yes.
I just love them.
Yeah, and you know what happened to Taguchi was horrifying, right? And it's like sizzling guts, and he's crawling, and then she bashes him, and everything's awful. And the axe fucking lines up its shot, and just just falls on her. Oh, it's good times.
It's a great setup for almost like the ending of the movie, even though you're still only halfway through it.
Yeah. So
it's kind of weird.
It is. And then you get that, and it's like, oh man, that was awesome. We cut back outside real quick, and there's the 3 survivors, and they're like, uh-oh, they haven't come out yet. We're gonna have to go get them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting ready to maybe go in there, and then Yamamura shows up, and he's like, "You idiots! What have you done?" And they're
Scruffy.
like, "What?" Yeah. He's like, "You dumbasses! What have you done?" They're like, "What? What are you talking about?" He's like, "This burial site was the only thing keeping the curse in check." And they're like, "Curse? What are you talking about?" And they go through a whole thing where he's basically belittling all of them.
Well,
because
he especially does it to Kazuo, who has absolutely nothing to do with any of it.
No.
It's like, what the hell are you yelling at me for?
He's like, you all need to leave. They're like, we can't. The car is fucked up. Besides, 2 of our people are still in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I guess maybe he feels like he has to go save them or whatever.
Well, and that and I don't know how serious they're taking crazy old drunk gas station guy who literally
just comes out of
looks like
nowhere.
a bum. Yeah. Who says, "Oh, you knocked over some rocks. That's why it's cursed."
I know what I'm talking about. Trust me.
But there's some really cool shots of them in the forest. The lighting really doesn't make sense. But I absolutely love it. I still like it. I don't know why.
It doesn't have to make sense. It's not just horror. It's Japanese horror. So
it's
it really
Japanese horror. Yes. That's true. Thank you, Robert.
I mean, that's what it is. There's something, I forget what it's called, but over here in Western horror, usually, we have, a boogeyman or a monster or whatever, and what we do is we end up learning the why and the how of what this creature or monster or whatever it is. In the East, a lot of it doesn't. It just is.
Right.
And then that's kind of, I mean, even with Resident Evil, with, all their monsters being from science, right? Parasites and diseases and everything. Why does the disease work like that? It just does.
Just does.
It just does.
Yeah. And like even in our movies, it's usually like, I'll go check it out, and it's one person. But in a Japanese movie, it's like, let's all go. Oh, we're all scared shitless. Yeah,
because they're intelligent.
Yes.
Face it, the Japanese have always been more intelligent than we are.
I'm 100%.
Yeah. But the 3 survivors in Scruffy, as you call him.
Yeah, Scruffy.
Scruffy don't care.
Yeah, Scruffy
don't. Seconded. They go and they're in the main room, I guess, hallway or whatever you want to say, that has the big painting.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Scruffy gives all the exposition, all of it.
Because they had went in and they found the bodies of both the other people that died of the film crew. And
because we have to talk about what happened to Asuka's body.
Yeah, she melted.
Well, it's like they find the cameraman, and of course he's in half, and his skull's been bashed in.
He looks like a zombie. He
looks like a zombie, but it's like, okay, we saw that, right? We saw that from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And he covers him with a blanket or his coat or whatever. And then they go in the other room because they see this bright orange glow coming from it. And they open the door, and there is Asuka in the wheelchair with where she caught the axe with her skull. She's literally molten lava.
Literally. Like
she is melting.
It literally looks like they somehow went to a volcano, got lava, and threw it over this doll or something.
Yeah,
Like, it's lava.
yeah. It's like, and it's not like, when we say she's melting, it's not like, the guy at the end of RoboCop melting or whatever. It's not like that. She's literally melted lava.
Yeah, it's it's
It's
really
like
cool though.
it
Yeah.
really is, because I had seen this, before watching it for this episode. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, same. I should say I've only watched this once when I beat the game, and then this is my second viewing. So
Yeah, yeah. This is my second viewing of it, and yeah, that had completely flipped my. I was like, oh shit, molten lava lady. I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
their biggest mistake, though, their gravest mistake, was re-entering the mansion because they do suddenly start seeing the shadow of a woman. Her hair's going everywhere. She's all over the wall, and
Hmm.
she takes Emmy. And then, like, that's when you said the old drunk guy, Scruffy, starts to tell him what the hell's going on.
Yeah, this is, of course, the Mamiya mansion, and Mamiya was him and his wife had a baby, as most people do. They had a child, and he was going to paint this child growing up, stages of the child's life. But sadly, that didn't last too long. One day, Ms. Mamiya was cold and went to go turn on the furnace, and wouldn't you know it, baby Mamiya was in there playing somehow, and she didn't know it.
Yep.
Which is, I don't know how that works. By the time she realized it and was able to get the child out, the child had burned to death.
Yeah, we've heard of prom night dumpster baby, but not furnace burning baby.
And that's not the worst part. I mean, that's awful, right? Oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But it gets worse. Ms. Mamiya was so upset and so distraught over what had happened that she began kidnapping local children around the same age of what hers was and burning them so her dead baby would have playmates in the afterlife.
Yes.
Holy fuck.
It's fucking dark as shit.
Yeah, and then the townsfolk find out. They basically do a Frankenstein villagers storming. They're going to mob rules her. She's like, nah, fuck that. She throws herself into the incinerator thing.
So apparently, this family should never have been around incinerators in their fucking lives. Like, that's their Achilles heel is incinerators.
Yeah, oh my God, not my kryptonite. And then Mamiya, he survives a little while longer, and that's when everything got dark, and he painted what we saw was the long hair and the one eye and everything, because they did mention that when she went in to try to save her baby, one of her eyes was burned out.
Right.
Like it melted, basically melted half her face, including the eye. And so the paintings got really dark. He painted her long hair, the one creepy eye, where it should have been more paintings of his child growing up, and then he himself disappeared.
They do mention that at the beginning of the movie. They're like, that's odd that a fresco painter would change what he's drawing from the beginning to the end. Like, that's completely unheard of in Japanese culture, apparently.
Yeah,
So
and that's why it went from happy to terrible.
right. So that's the first clue that something went wrong in the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
And when Scruffy's explaining all this to them, he says, or what's his name, the main guy, Kazuo. He says, "Oh well, if they're darkness, if they're shadows that's alive, then why don't we shine light on them, and that'll teach them." And he says, "When you use light, you idiot, you make new shadows. They'll be everywhere."
Yeah,
He
he's like,
says,
there's even a shadow in your hand, in your fist.
yeah, even in your hand, there's darkness, and that's my favorite line from the whole movie when he says, when you use light, you make new shadows. Shadows, even in your hand, there's darkness.
I mean, honestly, that's where my mind went. I'm like, well, you got all these fucking lights, just turn them on. There you go. That's what that's how that works. And then,
Right.
Scruffy's like, nah, that's not how it works.
He's drinking while he's telling him all this.
He's drinking. He's taking pulls out of a bottle. I couldn't tell what he was drinking though.
It looks like either rum or whiskey.
Either way, he keeps trying to offer some to Kazuo, and he's like, "No, I don't want any."
So the only part I was confused about upon watching this, because I got a phone call and I was trying to pay attention, but he sings and he says it's something of the power of the mind that.
Yeah, it's basically now the singing. I don't know what that is. My version didn't have subtitles for that.
Right, it doesn't tell you what he's saying.
Yeah, it almost sounds like "Que Sera Sera," but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's like, the power of the mind is, you believe it, you stay focused and everything, and you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is basically in a nutshell what he says, which is why later on we'll just say a character uses that to help move along.
To get past the threshold, yeah.
Yeah, to get past something. Yeah. So that's what that is. And then after singing and after giving them the "Hey, believe in yourself" pep talk, basically, he's like, "Hey, let's go save your daughter because I know where she is. She's totally gonna be in that boiler room or whatever."
Because
And,
Emmy got possessed earlier in the
yeah,
movie.
yeah. So that's where she's gonna be, and they go down there, and it's a ridiculously long ass hall
Mm-hmm.
of like concrete almost,
Mm-hmm.
to this boiler or whatever it is, furnace.
It's eerie in the sense that when you think of a furnace, you just think of this like, big circular metal plated thing, and it has a hatch opening and blah blah blah. You throw shit in there and it burns. In the case of this, it is that, but you can't specifically see the furnace. There's a door in front of it, and all you see inside, what like from their view into the door, is just darkness.
Yeah, it's this furnace or whatever it is if that's supposed to be all furnace, that thing's massive.
Right.
If
And
that's what that's
so,
supposed to be.
which makes sense, I guess, in like it would have to warm up the whole entire mansion.
Yeah,
So,
maybe. Old
yeah,
house.
like maybe that's how they used to do it. Scruffy does not last long when he goes into the darkness of the doorway.
Yeah, well, we hear what has to be Mrs. Mamiya
Mm-hmm.
screaming, this ghostly scream, and it pushes all three of our characters back. But he's like, "No, you got to believe in yourself. You got to, keep focus your mind, focus your mind." And he walks into the darkness. We don't see, and all of a sudden he comes out, and he has Emmy. And she's fine, traumatized definitely, but fine.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like gives her out to her dad, and he's like, "Run, run!" And then what is the most brutal death in the movie happens?
It's like one of the most brutal deaths I've ever seen in all of my cinema history.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, think the what happens to the Nazis at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then amplify it by like 100.
Yes, that's exactly it. You nailed it.
Because I mean, it shows it. He comes out and he's a little scorched, but he's slowly burning as they're going on. And I mean, it's not like he's on fire. He's not bursting into flames or something, but it's like he's burning from the inside, and he starts looking like Freddy Krueger, and
Mm-hmm.
then his clothes burn off, and then his skin is all gone, and the meat, and his face falls off, and his hair falls out, and he's a charred skeleton that just crumbles.
There's at least 3 to 4 minutes of this happening specifically that they dedicated to it because they were clearly proud of the effects, which
They
they should
should have
be.
been. Glad they
Yeah,
were.
they're fucking awesome, and like it's the way it's played out. It's almost like even though when he's like his skin is stripped off and he's down to the bone, it's like his spirit or something is still in the body because it's still moving,
Yeah,
still
and he's
still
trying to
slowly
talk and shit.
dying. Yeah.
What's great is one of his eyes burns and pops out. It like
Yeah, it
it like
melts.
yeah, like melts out of his eye socket.
Oh man.
No matter how we describe it, we can't do it justice. You have to see this.
Yes, and even even when the skin falls off, he's been charred so much on the inside that the blood is just now sticky black goo on his bones.
And his bones are already charred.
Yes. But
It's amazing.
it's truly one of the best scenes in the movie. He was the coolest character and had probably the coolest death. I'd give it a 5 as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's that's a no-brainer. But after Scruffy's sacrifice, our three intrepid heroes start breaking down the door. They're going to get out because they're not going to let his sacrifice be in vain. And apparently Emmy's fine, maybe.
Yeah, she's just like a little winded, little like.
Yeah, after being possessed and kidnapped and all that. I guess she was in the same room as Scruffy, and she didn't burst into flames.
Maybe because she needed to be like used still, or I don't know. Maybe it's selective burning.
Maybe.
Yeah. One of the things that they believe, though, is because there's light out, the moon's out, that they have a chance to break down the door and escape because the spirits are clearly holding it shut.
Yes.
And the door itself is very like wooden. It's got holes in it. The whole place is a wreck. Again, it's like the Spencer Mansion should be in a Resident Evil movie. And the like clouds start going over the moon, and they're like, if we don't get this down, we're freaking doomed right now.
Yeah.
But they do. They do. And the problem here, the but, which again, you think this is going to be the climax of the movie because it's like, all right, they're going to escape. Yeah.
No.
But they don't.
No. It's Mrs. Mamiya shows up again. And does she like grab Kazuyo and like drag him into the darkness or something?
Because him and Asuka get outside, and he's like, I can't leave. He's like, I can't leave my daughter. And he goes back in, and he has to like fight his way back in because there's like this spiritual barrier around it.
Yeah,
and he's kind of like on fire a little bit.
Yeah, but he kind of just we don't see what happens. He just disappears into the fiery darkness or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What, Emmy gets kidnapped again?
Yeah, she's possessed. And, and our actual hero of the movie
is Akiko.
Yeah, she gets topless.
From behind, though.
You see like side boob, but she goes and gets on a dress that Emmy said her mother wore when she was little, and that she was wearing earlier in the movie. She puts that on and goes and digs up Lady Mamiya's child in the alien
Giger
coffin.
Casket still.
Yeah, the H.R. Giger coffin.
It's still there. I like it that they took the time to put it back in the coffin and then bury it.
Yes.
But she goes down to the boiler with the baby Giger Casket. And she's basically offering to trade, like, here's your baby, you give me back Emmy.
And this is essentially like Japan's version of like the good guy like suiting up to go into the last battle and prepare, because that's what she's doing.
Yeah, but she puts on a mom son dress.
Yes.
It's not exactly Ellen Ripley putting strapping guns together, duct taping guns together to go save Newt from the hive or something.
Alarms going off, lights blaring or shooting around everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same, but she goes down there and she's like, and this part kind of drags on. I think this is another detriment I have to this movie. Mm-hmm. It's basically in a nutshell, it's hey, let's trade kids. Lady Mamiya without saying anything is causing all these accidents, like floor crumbles and shit's breaking and everything to try to stop her. She does everything but come and straight out attack her to stop Akiko from getting to her.
And then again, like the power of the mind bit really isn't explained to us, but she has to walk into the burning furnace and say, I'm going to use the power of the mind.
Yeah, and she's fine.
Yep.
Totally fine.
Yep, to go get Emmy, who's not burning for some reason.
She gets Emmy, and they're going to start making their way back, and then finally, in all her humanoid appearance, Lady Mamiya shows up. Like, we finally see her head to toe. She is the Japanese traditional ghost, long black hair, pale skin, white dress, but she has the burned, scarred face.
And this is because when I was rewatching the movie, I was like, I kind of like this, but I remember liking it a lot more. And I was like, why did I like it a lot more than I'm liking it right now? And Lady Mamiya transforms.
Hell yeah, she does.
And I was like, that's why, because there's an actual like a prop of
Yes.
her transformation. All these babies start bursting out of her neck and her sides, screaming. All the babies she burned.
Yeah, and she's like 8
very
feet tall.
Yep, she's huge. She's like the alien queen. Is the
Yeah,
way.
she's like the best I could describe her is thank the big evil, the Deadite, the Kandarian demon at the end of 2, the one that busts through the door
Mhm.
and like and is gonna get sucked through the portal and everything. Thank that mixed with Sadako or Kayako, your choice of Japanese horror girl, mixed with the transformed version of the librarian from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's about
That's
right.
all I could think of. Because you got heads bursting out of it like the Kandarian demon, and of course it has a Japanese long-haired, pale skinned female ghost,
Mhm.
and it's got these spindly arms that are terrifying, like the transformed librarian had, whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. The babies also kind of reminded me of Freddy Krueger a little bit, like the
Part
teens.
4.
Yeah, part 4.
Yeah, at the end, the evil will see itself and it will destroy itself or whatever. Yeah, and then the teens start bursting out of him.
Yep.
Yep.
Fun fact: Linnea Quigley was one of those topless teens
Of
bursting.
course she was. Of course she was. Yeah,
Horror
and it's great.
legend. But
Yeah,
yeah, this
porn legend too. But
yes. This is this part though. This last like final conflict. It's not really a battle.
no.
Lady Mamiya tries to suck Emmy back towards her, and Akiko
Shoots
fights
lightning.
her. Yep,
Shoots lightning for some
there's like
reason.
there's like 1980s Ghostbusters lightning, like when they turn into the Terror Dogs. There's that type of lightning, and she throws shit at her. She throws a broom, a
She tries a
pitchfork. I
pitchfork her.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't really work out.
it does not.
But it looks cool as hell. Like Lady Mamiya looks amazing.
Yeah, and but yeah, that's all I could think of when she was shooting the lightning was, are you gods? No, then die. And she, shoots the lightning. That's all I could. You say yes.
If you're here to shoot a documentary of frescoes, you say yes.
Yes. But then, and of course it's this, conflicting operatic music, gets the blood pumping, even though these ladies don't stand a chance against this ghost thing. But then Emmy grabs the little tiny baby gear casket and like, here's your baby.
And this is when we learn that Huey Lewis was right. It was the power of love.
Now look, as much as I love Huey Lewis in the news, this is bullshit. Okay? Because what happens is she picks up her baby and she transforms, and the baby too, I guess, into this angelic being and ascends to heaven or whatever. That's
Takes
bullshit.
off. Yeah,
she still killed
bullshit.
a bunch of innocent babies.
Mm-hmm.
She deserves to be in whatever hell they have.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Probably one of the biggest detriments to the movie is that the evil thing that is still fucking evil should be punished for that cruelty. It should be punished for these murders. But it just ascends and it's just happy. And I forget what I was singing, but I was singing like a happy song. I was like, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, because we saw her kill 3 people.
Yep.
The cameraman and the host and Scruffy, and then think of all the babies that she burned, so her dead baby could have playmates in the afterlife.
Right.
Innocent children she burned to that. She doesn't deserve that. She deserves whatever religion she is, hell.
And like, what kind of mother does not keep an eye on her baby to let it crawl on a furnace and then turns it on?
Yeah, right. I mean, my mom has always told me stories that if I barely got out of her sight or my grandmother's sight, they were up and looking for me when I was crawling around or whatever. There's no way I would have been able to crawl or waddle or whatever into a big ass furnace.
Like
any parent would have been like, "What? No." That's ridiculous.
And I will say that, yeah, that's the one component of this movie I really didn't like. I mean, I get it's supposed to be a quote unquote happy ending, but that's not how I wanted it to end.
Yeah, no, this is not. I mean, okay, she ascends, the two girls escape. Hey, Dad, Kazuyo's still alive. The sun's out, birds are chirping. Yeah, we walk out, credits roll.
Yeah.
So we get the good ending, and that, hey, Dad and daughter are alive. Looks like, Kiko might be the new mom for her, and a new lover for Dad and everything. But she didn't deserve to go to heaven or whatever. That is all kinds of bullshit.
It's the ending nobody wanted.
Yeah, it really does the game end like that too, or do you want to spoil it?
I don't remember, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I know you fight her in like the Black Void, and then something happens, but I don't remember. I know it's a bizarre ending though.
I mean, it can't be as unsatisfying as this ending was.
No.
Like I said, it's not that the people survive. Hey, they were good people and they're nice people and they're a new family. Great. It's the villain wasn't punished, like you said.
Yeah, and even the way it's shot, like I kind of like the effects of it, but it's very weird, and it's just kind of bizarre because like the last shot of Lady Mamiya is in the clouds, and then there's sunlight, and you're like, what? No.
You're like, what is this?
You're actively like, fuck you, movie. No.
It'd be like in Resident Evil if the mansion blew up, but the tyrant was still walking around fine or something. Like, what?
Yeah. He just puts on a fedora and just tilts it and walks off. That's the exact.
Or like, depending obviously on your storyline and everything, Wesker gets gored by the tyrant, or he gets shot or whatever, and then you see his spirit ascend to heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good old Wesker.
Wesker. Well, I can't wait till we get to those.
Oh yeah,
we say that every episode.
I know they're gonna come soon. I want to do something Resident Evil soon, but the thing with Sweet Home, and as the credits roll, it lingers on the mansion. Which when it did that, I was like, why isn't it exploding? I just kept waiting for it to explode.
You were like, when is Brad going to throw down the rocket launcher?
Yeah. Ada Wait.
Ada Wait, the video game.
In the video game coming this summer.
This is going to be good when we do this.
But there's one fun fact, not fun actually. There is one fact about this mansion that I do know. And apparently it was reported that a man owed the Japanese mafia, what are they called? The triads or?
No, the Yakuza triad.
Yakuza.
Chinese.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Stop pissing off organized crime.
He owed them money, and they took him to the top of this mansion, which was a real mansion in the woods. And they said, you can either pay us or you can jump. Either way, you're going to die. And he jumped off the mansion and died.
Huh.
Yep.
Now, was this after or before?
It was after.
They shot the movie. Oh, okay.
Because I don't think anyone was allowed back up there, and I don't remember if they dismantled it or not. I can't remember, but
did.
Probably. But so when you think of Resident Evil, just remember we have Shinji Mikami, Capcom, Sweet Home, George Romero Zombies, and the Yakuza to thank.
Yay, the Yakuza.
Yeah, go Yakuza.
Now and now something that we didn't talk about is the director of this of the movie, not the game, is Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and he is a somewhat big name of horror in Japan, and horror fans here would also know him from Pulse. Remember that got a really, really bad American remake?
I remember watching it. I don't remember what it was about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Japanese movie Pulse is good. The American remake's very bad. But
Shocker.
Shocker. He's won awards for, his horror work and everything. He's done he did a slasher movie, and sometimes it's translated as like The Guard from Hell or The Bodyguard from Hell. If I can find that one where we can easily watch it, we may have to do it because that's kind of a trip.
I would be down for that. Even the name sounds enticing.
Yeah, right. But yeah, he's Pulse was that one where it was literally a static pulse, and anything electronic would turn you into like a mindless beast
Oh, okay, gotcha.
or something like that. It was they butchered it over here.
People said that too. Well, here's the thing. Like sometimes I think it works out, but I'm a very forgiving moviegoer. What was that one movie where the dad, I shouldn't say the dad, the dude gets trapped in the room for like 15 years?
Old Boy.
Old boy. Like
Those
I
movies are.
actually
I saw the Korean version, and that's awful. That movie's boring as shit.
I thought the American version was good.
I
Yeah,
haven't
but
seen the American. I thought the Korean one was so boring. I'm like, dude, I need something to happen, please.
yeah, there was a lot of long speeches in that movie. I don't know if we could consider that one a horror movie, but I do suggest people go watch the American version of Old Boy. I did like it.
I like both versions of The Grudge, American, the first one. I like
Yeah.
Ju-on and I like The Grudge.
Yeah, I think they're both. I mean, I would prefer Ju-on, but The
Yeah.
Grudge is still good. Yeah.
Ringu is far superior to The Ring.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that and even the Netflix show I would say is still superior to the American movie.
Did you ever see Kayako versus Sadako, The Ring versus The Grudge?
I can't remember. Maybe.
It's the dumbest thing in that, of course it fucks with the lore of both franchises, but the well that Sadako was thrown down and left to die or whatever is in the backyard of the Ju-on house.
That's stupid.
And it's great. It's awful.
Speaking of Sweet Home,
Sweet
I was trying to think if I had any other thoughts on it. I think we kind of covered it. Just
Yeah,
my favorite.
It's a great movie. It's not perfect, definitely. We talked about the down parts, like this takes a little bit longer, the stupid ending and everything, but with the enjoyment you get out of the other parts, it's worth suffering through those stupid parts. And so I give it an 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, same here actually.
Yeah. I go with an 8. If I'm gonna say though that if the effects hadn't have been as good as they were, the gory effects,
right,
and Lady Mamiya wasn't as fucked up as she was, the design of her, I would have rated it lower.
Yeah, and even though and this is just an 80s trope to begin with, but nothing really happens in the climax. They do quote unquote battle, but it's still just fun to look at in the case of that, and that's why I again, those effects, they're really great.
They really are. They've aged incredibly well for going on 35 years or so. Yeah, close to it.
Yeah, and you won't ever. And another reason to watch this movie is you won't ever get this type of cinematography or style or anything back, because this is just an artifact of that period. It's like the early 2000s superhero movies. Like those are the early 2000s. You're never gonna get superhero movies like those again.
Like the Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah. Or even the bad ones like Daredevil, you're never going to get them again. They're just that nobody's going to shoot a movie they know it doesn't work. And the way that these movies were shot back then with the special effects, obviously nobody's going to use that type of technology. They have CGI now.
Yeah, well, the only way is if a purist did it, like they want to use it.
Right.
But any mainstream big, investors
Studio.
and everything, studio, no, they're not gonna let somebody do that. They're gonna
right. And I think for just the way the mansion looks, like the dark halls, the gloom, the shadow,
the zombies that should be there.
It's 100%. Yes, it's 100% worth watching just for that. Just to go back in the time capsule of the way horror movies used to be shot back then, because it really does. And I swear to God, after this, just go watch Return of the Living Dead 3, and you're gonna be like, oh man, it does look the same in like the sewer scenes and everything, and just
Oh, the shadow effect and the light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're never gonna get this back, and that's why I not only picked it to talk about the effects and the way things were done back then, which I miss so much. I miss practical effects.
Yeah, I
And
mean, CG is great, I say,
mhm.
for cleaning up
Yeah,
practical effects. It's good. That's great. Can help hide wires and, puppeteers or whatever you need. It can do that. Or you can use it, obviously, for stuff that just simply is not possible with practical effects.
right. And they should still just I still think they should meld them together, but they just keep using like Zack Snyder's Justice League, for instance. It's just a fucking orgy of CGI and I hate it. It's like just
Yeah.
give me a real guy in a dark side suit. Like I don't want a CGI dark side, but yeah, alas, I digress.
I mean, isn't Thanos, wasn't he CG?
Yeah, I think they did it a little bit better with him, but yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, the actor was on set with like props on him and stuff. Yeah.
right.
Like the big exoskeleton thing, kind of.
Speaking of old boy, Josh Brolin, yeah,
Josh Brolin, yeah. Also, Cable
Cable, yep.
and Jonah Hex.
But
Remember that movie?
I do actually. I do want to say to people that I think they should go. I would recommend going and watching this. It's free on YouTube. There's no reason why you can't. It's a forgotten treasure. If you're gonna go play the game, do as I said, not as I do.
Don't do as me. Do as him.
Yes, because I did not take the advice that I heed unto you, and I tried to beat the game regular, and that was not fun.
Because all I did was die at death traps, drink, and curse at the game.
Yes. How far did you get in it, Rob?
I barely anywhere. I mean, because I remember, you get your group together and then you go up, and I think it's to the right. There's a hallway, and one of my people fell through the floor and died or something.
Yep, immediately. Yep, everyone.
Yeah,
I
like,
think
man,
everyone
fuck this
does that. Even the music score of the game is good. You get used to that bumping in the mansion. But anyway, that's Sweet Home. And I want to thank everyone for listening to us. We've been trying to pump these out, but we are both going through a lot. Rob, I don't know if you want to say what you're going through.
Yeah, just stuff, and I know you're doing stuff.
Mhm.
But eventually we're going to get it where we can hopefully get 2 of these out a week.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
And expect more games and movies and
I mean, games, I think, take more time for us because you can watch a movie an hour and 40 minutes, depending on the game, how long is it going to take you to
right.
beat that game? I mean, obviously, unless it's like RE, the first one, and you can fucking speed run it.
Exactly. But then kind of a fun fact, and I'll let everyone in on this, is that all the episodes up until this one, we actually recorded them. I recorded them inside of my car because I had just moved to a small town. I didn't have any internet yet, and I had to go borrow Wi-Fi. So I would drive over to like a place where Wi-Fi was with my laptop in the passenger seat, hook up my microphone, and me and Rob would record. And now I have internet, so I don't have to do that bullshit anymore.
Yeah, we're able to go a little bit longer with the episodes. You don't have to worry about your battery dying.
Yeah, that as well.
So these should be getting better.
I remember too, I forget what we were talking about. We were talking about something like boobs or something. And I'm talking about it in my car into the microphone, and some dude's walking by like, what?
He calls the cops on you. He's like, yeah, there's this weird dude just talking about boobs and is sitting in the parking lot.
He's talking to himself.
Yeah, talking to himself. I don't think there's anybody at the end of that headset.
Yeah, but thanks everyone. Rob, do you know what we're gonna do next week?
I do, and we've done a lot of great movies. Maybe it's time we do a bad one. And when I say bad, I don't mean bad. It's like, haha, this movie's terrible, but it's so funny. I mean bad, like, why won't this movie fucking end?
Oh no.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, why don't we do the ever terrible, for some reason, it's a cult hit, Astro Zombies.
All right, Astro Zombies.
Yeah, it inspired a great Misfits song.
Yep.
And there you go. That's all you really need to know. That's the episode for Astro Zombies.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this. I'm like, we need to do a bad movie, but I don't want to do one where we have fun with it, like Birdemic. Birdemic's great to laugh at. Plan 9's fun to laugh at. Astro Zombies, it's just throws on.
So expect a lot of bitching next week.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be Astro Zombies, and none of us will have fun with that.
And nobody forget, we are 138.
We are 138. Legally distinct. 138.
Bye,